One of the things that really doesn't happen, or people really don't realize about the process of coming back into the free world, is if you've been locked up for any length of time, you just don't feel like you belong in the free world anymore. That's something that I went through. I did 28 years. I got out in April of 2015. End of April, I got a job as a learning circle associate. Especially the men don't want to admit that they're having trouble. When I got out, first time I went to church, I spent my whole service standing against the wall because there was just too much going on. The anxiety about getting on a bus, about using a cell phone. When I was locked up, the internet didn't exist.
Like this, because this tail is what we're going to use, and I don't have a good enough tail there.
I wasn't feeling like I fit in out here or belonged out here, or I deserved to be out here. It doesn't matter who's coming in the door, whether they're a beneficiary or not. If they're in that situation and they need that, we're going to do our best to provide that for them. If it hadn't been for Rick McCafferty, manager with the Southcentral Foundation Native Men's Wellness Program at the time, and Sandy Bowling was the manager of Learning Circles. If it wasn't for their support and walking me through a lot of things that I was going through, I would have failed. I would have gone back. I was actually one of those people that seriously considered going back to prison, not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I just didn't feel like I fit out in the free world anymore. When I was getting my life back in order, one of the primary things that guided me was getting back in touch with those values that I was taught as a young child. That's what we're trying to do here, is to get back to our original traditional values. Everybody needs to give them that opportunity to get back to, who they were meant to be. We do our best to support people.
An Alaska Native elder told me once, in order for the entire circle to mend, everyone must be a part of that circle. And that's why we must work with people who have caused harm. That's why we must be within corrections and working with people who have been a part of those ruptures in our community. Our focus is in interrupting and ending cycles of trauma through focusing and returning to the strengths of Alaska Native people. The program started in a living room with Alaska Native elders leader getting together and say, we need to do something about child sexual abuse. We need to do something about that. And then going into the community and asking, what is it that you want to focus on? Being started by Alaska Native elders has been so key, because our elders have given us permission by first sharing their stories. I remember the first time I came into a space and elders stood up and shared their stories, particularly men, shared their stories vulnerably of how they had been harmed and how they caused harm. And I wept, because I had never heard men, as someone who had been harmed by men, I had never heard men own the depth of the pain they had caused. And to be a part of that was transformational.
I've really seen some really awesome and beautiful connections made. And being able to share that in a healthy, safe space, I mean, it's profound. Indigenous men need to heal. Indigenous men carry a lot. And I would like to see more Indigenous men come through these spaces, share their stories, be honest, be vulnerable, feel loved and cared for, because they are, and when they come to these spaces, that's what happens.
I worked with this young man that came into the program, and he was fearful. He had tried to stop his girlfriend from driving drunk, and so there was some altercations, and he got arrested, and so he had to live through a lot of different trials and tribulations, and we just kept supporting him. I said, pick a career path, go, choose where you're going to go. And yesterday he sent me his degree. He's a paramedic today.
For me, I was ready to make those changes. I was ready to be vulnerable. I was ready to want a full life, to not walk that journey alone.
You do that together. You don't do it alone. Nobody can do this alone.
You hear these statistics. You hear violence against women, violence against children, suicide rates, all of those things. You hear how Alaska leads in those, how Indigenous people lead in those. That's something that we hear constantly. To be a part of a department, a program, as an Indigenous person who is bringing solution, and we are healing ourselves and healing our people and healing the generations that are to come. It's powerful. And it makes me so proud. It makes me so proud of the work of Family Wellness and the work of Southcentral Foundation. That's what we continue to do, generation after generation of elders standing up, giving permission and saying, share those things, tell your story. Not the story that you wished you had, but the life you experienced, all those formative experiences. It's going to be safe here. It's going to be accepted here.